Hey, what is up, traders? We are back today trading the equity markets. We're looking to have a trade here on Tesla due to the fact that it has experienced a lot of moves here during the recent days, and especially I believe it was Thursday, that sharp decline. On Friday it was kind of consolidated, didn't really have a lot of price action to trade the name. It was pretty consolidated, so I kind of left it alone all the way until like the end, where we had a nice downward move. I think the imbalances came in and there was more of a sell order before the close for Tesla. It was quite nice to see that within the name overall, but now we're looking to short the name, as to we had a nice strong bid, but we are below the 50 MA. And like I said, generally when we are below the 50 MA, we tend to have underlying weakness in the name, showing that the sellers are in control basically. And unless we get above that, it's looking like a short, to be honest. Within this name, the EMA has declined. Since the open, it was at $10.72, and now it's at $10.58. So it's showing us that the average short is entering here. And unless we get above VWAP, look at here, right? We bounced, right? But we failed to make a new high, right? This high is lower than this high. So we're starting to see kind of like a trend shift, basically. In a way, the EMA overall and the VWAP have increased, but slowly. It has been decreasing its overall rate slope. It's not increasing at a fast rate at all within the name. Let's say we want to enter a small position here. Once we are above here, VWAP, we see a decline, and then kind of average in more shares here when we get a break around below VWAP, so we can have it towards our price target here, the low of the day around 968. Basically this is Tesla, but I'm doing TSLA, which is more of a leveraged 2x bull shares. It's cheaper to trade. It mirrors Tesla, as you guys can see if I just pull it up. It mirrors Tesla, but it's just cheaper to trade, right? Tesla is $294 per share. On the contrary, if we do TSLL, the same thing. It's just cheaper way to trade Tesla, basically. So yeah, it's still below the 50 MA. It's finding some support, right? But I don't know. This candle here is showing, the sellers were pretty intense here. We had a nice bid, and then this volume candle came in pretty high for the sellers, and we had a nice upward wick, signifying that the overall sellers were bringing the price in, and we're pretty much enjoying the move that we were having overall here in the name. So it's just a matter of time before we see a decline. If we do manage to get above the 50 MA, then it would show that the buyers were strong enough to surpass those sellers, and we will look for long opportunities. But for now, the long isn't going to be too much of an option for me. I think starting to be weak. Generally we have kind of in a way proven that. For example, we have a nice upward move, right? But we are below the 50 MA. It shows that there's underlying weakness still in the name. So if there is a bid up, eventually it's going to find some type of resistance around these levels. I'm not saying exactly at the 50 MA, but it's going to start seeing some weakness. And generally it tends to fade back, right? Because there's sellers at the 50 MA, and vice versa, right? If we are for example having an upward sloping VWAP and we decline, then we may find support at that 50 MA and just go up, right? So there's a lot of cases here, but for example, let's see, this was on Friday. It was pretty consolidated until towards the end. We had those imbalances, came in quite well. But what I'm saying is this, right? So when we are below the 50, generally there are there's a weakness. So we had a nice kind of upward trend. People were thinking, maybe we will go a little bit higher, but we encountered some resistance there, and we just sold off, and we just maintained ourselves. The price action below the 50 EMA, showing that overall weakness in the equity, and we can see it here, right? Like starting to kind of kind of shift momentum here. Probably enter at a break here, start my initial position, small position here at the break of the price action of the $239 level right there. Keep in mind that this is a 5-minute chart here trading, so but generally there is that overall confluence with the price action and the levels because of the fractals, so should be pretty much the same. We just generally like to use smaller time frames like 3-minute or 1 minute to kind of perfect our entries. We like to use the longer term to kind of identify the trends and overall trend structure and what's happening. So in general, there it is. So we're gonna enter a small position here on Tesla for the short. Seeing some weakness here being rejected. If we go look to the 3-minute, we've been rejecting the 50 EMA. Look at once, we come up to it once, reject, once to it again, and we reject. So yeah, so this high did not close higher than this high, so we're gonna look to start shorting here Tesla. But yeah, overall it's been pretty good for Tesla. We're just obviously waiting for the conditions to set up. We didn't really take part of the overall longer term trend. This little trend that happened right here at the beginning of the day, we were mostly looking at IBIT as well. This has been really strong, and Bitcoin is now above the $107 level. I think it's around there. If you look at overall Bitcoin, like I said on that last stream, that it would find support at the 50 EMA because it was forming double confluence with not only the 50 EMA. If we pull it up here, not only the 50 EMA, but it was also 107. It was also forming, like I said the last time, it was forming confluence with the 50 EMA and this area of support here, right here. So it was a double kind of reason to buy. So we've been seeing nothing but a strong bid after that, like I said last time on my live stream. And yeah, we would like to be fully long, full position if we have another decisive break and candles above this swing high anchored VWAP. So the high that we formed around 111,000, around that. So that would signify that the buyers are now, they bought the price action, their strength after the dip, and now they're starting to emerge again. And Bitcoin can hopefully resume this nice overall trend that it's been having on longer term time frames. On the daily chart, it's just absolutely amazing. Beautiful upwards trend. This was probably the formation of the higher low, and this is probably the formation now of the higher high, trying to continue obviously that trend structure towards the upside. But yeah, it's amazing. Still, price targets for Bitcoin is going to be 130,000. Firmly believe that this can be achieved by the end of the year, especially with all the volatility that we've been seeing in the markets, especially with the tariffs and overall what's been happening within the administration. The people are going to start securing. Bitcoin isn't really impacted by tariffs, right? It's not a physical product or anything. So I believe that if we just keep seeing this volatility, this indecisiveness within the markets, some of that money is going to be pulled away from equities. Probably take advantage of this quick bounce that we've been having to sell some and put it towards more of a less of a risk asset. In this case would be Bitcoin or gold. You see gold on the daily chart, it's been kind of consolidating, but it had such a strong move ever since, you know, the tariffs were announced. And yeah, it's obvious because people want to kind of take that risk factor off, obviously. So yeah, it's looking quite good for Bitcoin. Amazing. I'd probably like to see some, let's see, for the next couple of days, maybe some type of candle like this that holds above. You know, we need to see some candles that hold above to show that the sellers were not powerful enough or didn't have the enough intensity to bring the price action down below the swing high anchored VWAP. So and then have that last, you know, candle, like, you know, we're like this, right? So showing that new momentum shift forward, and a good place, if you haven't entered the name yet, that would be the entry, and you obviously now have a nice place to set your stop, which would be this most recent and relevant higher low, in this case the 101 level. You know, it's a perfect level. It's at the 50 support level, and also is an important psychological area, as it is the $100,000 level, and Bitcoin had a lot of trouble getting above that level. So now, you know, previous level that breaks, right, it was resistance a lot of times, broke above it, came back and tested it, it acted now as a level of support. So you guys see this, you know, it was previous resistance, now it was support. So seeing these little trends in the market and price action can save you guys for, you know, having a proper entry and kind of timing the market in a way, although it's impossible to fully time it, but you can kind of get an edge on when to enter and when not to enter. But it's something important to look out for here on these names. Let's see. So it's not looking too bad. Let's check on the CoreWeave, see how this stock is doing. Absolutely amazing. This thing dips a little bit and just people come and pick it up, you know, starting to bounce, starting to see some support. Fundamentally, this company, I think, is involved with NVIDIA, so pretty much that explains the exponential increase in the price action. You know, any stock that's involved with the leader, right, the number one leader in this AI innovation and kind of a revolution here, is going to be increased, you know, pretty well in their price action. So yeah, it's just kind of declined here, pulled back to like this $140 level. Found some buyers. I think it's trying to bounce here, trying to get above the highs. It's pretty overextended, I would say. So we had a nice move here a couple of days after the IPO, the initial public offering here, and we pulled back, you know, had a strong price action, bringing it down towards $35, found support. And if we measure the move there from that high towards the pullback that we found support, we're pretty above, kind of getting a little bit overextended. Now we're above 3.618 of the retracement, so that's like double the extended move. In a way, usually stocks tend to pull back at this Fibonacci level, and you know, it may go towards this one, but this one is like when it goes to 3.618, it's like doing double the expected move, basically. So I'm pretty surprised that it has sustained itself so clearly above these levels. I was expecting probably a pullback either to, you know, this you know, $114 level, or even this $83 level. Obviously not instantaneously, but over time, you know, seeing some type of a close, right? And it's kind of hard to how do you say it, kind of measure fully what the trend is doing or where it's going, because since it's been such a new name, we don't have data for a 50 EMA, right? We haven't had enough data yet, or closing days that allow us to graph the 50 EMA properly and kind of gauge where the trend is going. And even the 200 EMA, like, forget that. Like, using a 200 daily, it's just not enough price action overall data. So, but yeah, this name is looking good. It's starting to curl up towards the upside, so we're gonna be looking on that name. Another recent IPO, I believe, was Circle, and this name has just been on a tear. It's been pretty intense since its IPO here on June 5th. It's been seeing nothing but upside. But yeah, like I said, it's not enough data for us to find support levels, key areas. Like right now, it's just finding. It's just moving up higher to find supply, or moving down lower to find the demand. Like there's no key areas of historical price action previously that can tell us here's an important support level. The stock may go this way, may go down. We need some more levels overall here on Circle. And these recent IPO names. Well, another name that's kind of having that move, I guess, and I think it's pretty people aren't really talking about it, but Webull, right? Let's see, I think it's Bull. Yeah, Webull is IPO'd on April, and it saw a nice upward move, but it's now been heavily declined. But I believe this name is going to find some buying here at this I don't know, at this low. Is going to find some buying because Webull has just it's such an amazing company. Firmly, we've seen Robinhood pump right on its daily chart, right? This stock has been nothing but pumping up, right? And Hood has been offering services a little bit similar to that, but I believe that it's more structured. Webull, the platform, is really well for options trading. It's simple, it's dynamic, it's also including AI advisory, so it can automate overall the portfolios and all that. So I think that there's innovation there, and in Webull there's the technology sufficient to have the stock overall be competitive here and slowly start to gain up. Usually when there's IPO, we always see like a big move right towards upside, and then we start seeing progressive selling. But it's just a matter of time before this pumps up. We may find support here at this $10 level. We may pull back maybe a little bit towards $9.50, but I think we'll slowly start to see it bounce, and I'm guessing like we're starting to see it right here. This company, I firmly believe, can achieve a market cap of 20 billion. Right now it's at 5 billion, based on the fundamentals and all that. We've done our little research, and yeah, it's has a possibility to go. So this one, if we can get a nice move, slowly start to see the bid up, all that, and recuperate above, let's say, the $12 level, then this can be firmly played. I'll personally play it, be looking to play this with options and try to get some of these strike prices, and overall just decisive movement, I guess. Possibly a break above maybe this $12 level, $13 level, signifying that there's like a kind of a curl occurring now within the name. So yeah, that one's looking pretty good, and something to look out for. Looks like Tesla is seeing some support here. Intense candle. The volume has been nothing but declining, like it's been pretty weak, right? Obviously we had a nice surge at the beginning of the open, and it's been kind of declining, especially now, and we're encountering some resistance there at the 50 MA. So I'm not too surprised about that, to be quite honest with you guys, but what can we say, right? So let's see, TSLA, I'll pull back to that. Let's see. Let's see. Oh wow, seeing really strong bid. Quite frankly, don't know why Tesla's so strong today on the day. It's quite intense here. So let's see, 805. Yeah, it's been doing nothing but pumping up. It's been intense. Yeah, so it's been a strong bid here on Tesla. Honestly, we may just have to factor here the VWAP overall. The slope has nothing but increased here for Tesla on the 5-minute. 50 MA has been declining, but now it's starting to kind of increase. Now looks like we're getting above the 50. I mean the 50 MA here on the 5. So yeah, I thought the trend would be probably more bearish, but it looks like we are kind of propulsing up higher here on the name. I'm gonna take that off. And we broke above the pre-market high, came back, had it act as an area of support here, and that's where the buyers came in. So we should have been able to notice that here. I mean, we got stopped out of the initial small position that we added. We probably thought we were going to see more downwards decline here at this entry, but we got stopped out. We placed our stop here somewhere around this pre-market, this high, somewhere around there, and kind of got stopped out on this little nice move that we had here on Tesla. Here, a little strong move, but yeah, it was a good thing. It was just a small entry position here in the name. It's a 3-minute chart. The 1 minute, how's that looking? It's looking quite well. Yeah, Tesla has been nothing but increasing throughout the whole day, kind of going within the overall market. We have the SPY up around 11%, 0.11%, and the overall triple Qs up a little bit less than a third of a percent here. Pretty strong on the day, I'd say. There's been a lot of news here, especially with the administration and the overall tariff negotiations that are going to be taking place here, I think today, over the upcoming tariffs that have been increasing here. If you look at the overall Uplift Markets newsletter here and check the most recent news that may impact the overall stock market here, we have some latest news here. For example, MicroStrategy's Bitcoin has been buying more. Just pretty intense. Just shows how much of an institutional belief there is in Bitcoin. Just there's always this, you see these, big players buying more. There's a reason as to why they're buying more, right? They've been raising 110 million, going up here, and yeah, pretty much more news that you guys can look out for here. Very important. It's just factoring in all the upcoming news that are coming up. If we look at our post today here, for let's see, I believe actually if you pull that up, stock market news, link that up here. Interesting. See if we find it here. Here it is. So this one was posted here. It's like kind of like a daily overview of the price action, the news, and the trade and play overall here. So for example, Today we talked about how the markets have been edging higher. This was during the pre-market ahead of key inflation data as U.S.-China trade talks resume, and also the WWDC event is taking place. So today we had not too important economic data. We had the wholesale inventories month over month. I think that actually came in a little bit lower. Consumer inflation expectations not doesn't really impact the market too much, and bill auctions not really. So we are going to get more important down the line, starting from Wednesday going forward. Start getting more important economic data that does impact the market, and the market does factor in for overall its future performance, right? So it wasn't too bad. Here we have like a little snapshot of what the futures were doing during the pre-market to kind of get an idea of if we were the kind of bullish or bearish here before the market even opened. And also the S&P 500 is pretty close to its all-time highs. I think it's around 2%. It's not too far away from its all-time highs. Just shows the intense bounce that we had. Wasn't like that like 2 months ago, so it's quite nice to see this bounce. Overall the market has been pretty, I guess, resilient ever since we had an increase in the jobs report. Unemployment was steady around 4.2%. Jobs increased 139,000 versus 126,000 expected. And here's the upcoming data, which are kind of, they're important. The market has been waiting for it to happen, occur, right? So here we get a little bit more insight about the overall trade war that's been going on here with tariffs. There's been a Trump-Xi phone call. It's kind of sparked a little bit of optimism, and the as well. Additionally, most of the Trump administration, some of the cabinet is expected to meet in the following days here in Great Britain with in London here with Chinese officials to kind of deal with the overall tariffs. I don't believe it's going to be soon where they come with the deals. It's probably going to be taking a couple of days. I don't think there's going to be any rush to get it resolved within the first day. I think there's going to be more of a kind of precaution, but they're not going to leave until there's kind of a deal between the two, basically. As well, here Apple is kicking off its annual WWDC today in Cupertino, and there's a strong focus here on the AI. What has Apple been doing? There's been a lot of innovation here on AI, but what has Apple been doing with Siri? They kind of fallen back. That's what investors are kind of thinking here, because in general, Siri has been the same. They declared Apple Intelligence like a year ago with the new iPhone release that happened, but hasn't really been mentioned, hasn't really been like a game factor that has really impacted consumers or even reviews of the iPhone that came out last year that was supposedly going to have this native AI integration that you were only able to get if you got the new iPhone or any iOS above, I think it was 18. So it just goes to show that maybe they kind of pulled back a little bit. They're kind of assessing the waters, and as we know, Apple hasn't been to leader in innovation. They've always see innovation, and they always do it better, right? For example, like with the creation of the iPhone, right? They weren't the first to create the mobile phones, right? There was always there was BlackBerry, and they just later end up innovating it, making it better than the competition, and that's kind of like their edge. They see what's going out there, and they just make it better at the end of the day. So there's a lot of expectations here for WWDC. Tesla was a trade of the day here, as there was it's just been having nice moves, and between the overall feud between Musk and Trump, the stock has been pretty affected due to that recent news. But today it was downgraded by Baird. It went from outperformed to now being neutral, and still maintain the 320 price target, so it isn't too bad. But they have been, citing concerns over the optimistic robotaxi expectations, recent volatility, and something that's important that that I really saw to note here was this part right here. It says analysts argue the gains, or since the April lows, basically since these lows right here, are largely based on hype rather than fundamentals, and warn that investor expectations may be misaligned, or it separately downgraded the stock from buy to hold. So it goes to show basically that the fundamentals, we always get these bad news on Tesla. They haven't been too good, especially they've been losing a lot of market share in Europe. Primarily we're starting to lose market share in China against BYD, and now they're starting to slowly lose market share in Europe. So it's not a good sign, regardless if you're Tesla bull, if you're really bullish in the company. We have to admit that it's not too good news, but it all depends on the innovation. There's always that risk of with Elon Musk. I think one of the downgrades factored that in, that there's been in person or something like that volatility. It's just Musk can say anything and have the stock decline here, but that's why Tesla has achieved what it's achieved, right? Its CEO has been, although controversial, has been advancing the company, and right now, so I think it's a short-term headwind right now. And yeah, we just summarize here some key takeaways. The markets have been cautiously optimistic on trade, but geopolitical risks remain high here. And there's also been the Corby's AI investment, Tesla and Apple remain headline drivers with political noise and product updates respectively influencing the market sentiment. So yeah, we always give this final thoughts and more articles that are important. Stay up with the news that can overall help you guys trade better, find that edge, and kind of see where things are going within the overall general market. So like I said, absolutely free within this the link here. You can also use AI, right? A little chat bot here. You have any questions you can't find what you need to find, we can talk about, for example, include Amazon's recent earnings, right? And it thinks and starts to feed it out, gives out the most the earnings, gives some of the way of the context, and overall gives us nice sum of the overall here fundamentals of Amazon. So it's a nice tool to use, but yeah, overall it's been an amazing tool. Just to factor that in. Now going back towards Tesla here, I actually found resistance there, and actually that's starting to pull back quite heavy. So I had a nice little bid here, and I was starting to slowly kind of decline. Here, found resistance at that pivot point around 1067. It's quite interesting. There comes the decline at Tesla, following the market as well. Market's down now 0.16%. It was up, like I said, 0.33. Now it's kind of declining here. Overall news. It's a very nice strong pullback right here. Yeah, but still above VWAP regardless. It's been around 20. Looks like the VWAP is now at $10.26. 50 MA is now starting to decline again. It was increasing for a little bit, once it got above right? That little bid that it had, but starting to decline now. Yeah, sometimes all we have to do is let the price action settle down, give us the opportunity to enter the name based obviously on our strategy and fundamentals. We don't just want to enter blindly and just because you see the stock moving higher. For example, you could have been like, oh, this is a nice, probably gonna break this level on strong upward momentum, right? Could have been along here, but now you're starting to go against you, right? So it all depends right here. Here has a lot of potential decline lower here on Tesla.
The position that's not the expiration cycle that I'm looking at. Okay, so where did we put in a high day here? And I'm gonna ask you guys. All right, 144.92. For those who have access to the options chain on this week's expiration cycle,
here
where do we have the highest levels of open interest? We put in a high of 144.92. I'm giving you guys a hint. Put it in the chat if you guys have access to the chain. Where do you see the most levels of open interest?
Overall Tesla fails to
why are we stalling? Why have we checked those
hold
specific
above
levels? And I'll just
VWAP. So in this case here for TSLA, the double bull shares here, 226 fails to hold that. There's a lot of downward momentum here, downward potential that the stock can achieve. We can target obviously the lows of the day here around 968, but we still need obviously to have the stock decline a little bit more, try to get below VWAP and have that shift in trend, but right now it's still above
67.90
VWAP showing.
That's where we have high levels of
still surprisingly underlying strength, which is quite surprising compared to the overall news that's been going around the name, and as well due to the fact that has experienced a very strong downward move not too long ago. So It's pretty surprising that it's up. It's kind of consolidating here now. Kind of it's kind of whippy, slashy a little bit. You know, goes above. In this case, for example, rejects the 50, goes to the 50, gets above the 50, goes below it, and you know, it's just kind of like a mess at this point right here.
I'm thinking by the end of the week
So
we can have that
what we like to do here is kind of like leave it alone, wait for our conditions of entry to occur, and that would be
with that being said, if we do decide to reject those
pretty much
levels,
the
we can now
best
go to the put side.
here for Tesla. Looking at other names, for example, overall market. Yeah, exactly. We're starting to pull back.
Open interest is key. Yeah, there you go.
Generally,
Make sure to
we're
cut. I know you're paying attention. 145.
quite strong, yeah, at the beginning of the day, you know, strong bid, nice momentum, and then, you know, starting to decline, and now we're actually at VWAP, and just like we're about to fail it unless we find some type of support. Failed the 50 support, it looks like we're failing the intraday VWAP, so trying to give a little bit of time. If we do decline, we find support here all the way to 529, or the lows of 529.08. Looking at the overall SPY, the same. You know, a little bit more choppy though than the triple Qs. Although I will say it is you know, declining as well. It's below the 50 and below its intraday VWAP. Looking at Meta, quite strong, but it looks like it's starting to bounce here, starting to find some support. As you can see, we're looking at here it's pretty strong actually. I like this, man. Looks like a you know, a little bounce here, a nice hammer candle, volume slowly increased here. This nice volume candle. We may try to get back towards VWAP here, but yeah, looks like there is some bounce happening here with the Meta quite well. I'm gonna probably put a alert here on the name. Alert on Meta if it goes above that level. See, for Google, it's been nothing but holding above the 50. Like I said, it's been finding support at the 50s, showing there's underlying strength in the name right here. Looking at Microsoft, pretty choppy name, a lot of wicks, not too good a day trade so far. It hasn't really had pretty intense moves. It's better as a kind of a swing trade name, you know, long term right now so far hasn't been too good for day trade. A lot of wicks, you know, they can stop that pretty easily. Apple on the day, even though it's had a developer conference today, like we said previously, hasn't been able to find its footing quite properly, it's still declining. Lower, right, we're below 50. EMA below VWAP, so it shows that there's a lot of weakness here in the name so far. Amazon though, looking quite strong. On the daily, this is looking quite nice, as so we're looking at break now above key area of resistance, right? We're, you know, above the 50, we found some support here, and we are starting to curl up, you know, I'd say a level, you know, break of 215, maybe have another candle close here, and it's an absolute long here on Amazon for the swing trade. Obviously trying to challenge the all-time highs that we had. There we go. So we'll throw 243. So yeah, this thing is looking pretty good so far. We'll put it at 94, and we'll see if we can actually hold that area, because we haven't been holding any of my stops on the day. Netflix, see how that name's doing. Yeah, pretty strong, but yes, like I said, you know, found resistance at the 50 and may kind of pull back towards the VWAP. And yeah, it's been pretty, yeah, kind of trendy towards the downside generally. Strong downward move here at the open. A bit of a bid, short term, but now pulling back. IBIT been pretty strong on the day, nothing but upside moves. Following Bitcoin as well, like I previously said. Same strong moves on the day. Palantir here, okay, pretty strong. Pretty strong, a little bit of a slow, steady upside move, just like Tesla that we've been seeing quite well. Nvidia, nice move up. Looks like it's kind of reversing that move. So maybe trying to find support here at its day lows here of around $143.
It's got a wider spread.
Tesla, like I said, still pulling back.
67
It's kind of indecisive.
on the ask, 53 is
Core
on the
weave,
bid. And here comes 69
yeah, it's been
now on the
increasing.
ask.
Nothing
So
but
it has
increasing.
put
Although,
in 4
the volume
candles,
is pretty low
higher
today.
highs
Actually, it's doing
and
around
higher
60
lows.
million
So which
shares
way do
so
I
far.
go with this one?
And the average
Kind of
volume
hard
is
to know,
26
and
million.
they're
By this time, it
been
would have been,
losers today, these
should
small
have done
cap
that by
gappers.
this
So
time.
let's try to get something maybe around the $0.50. Now that we've cleared it substantially, we'll start with a small position here. We'll wait at 51, see if we can get something at 51.
Looking at
I
AMD,
don't mind averaging into the $0.25 on this
strong
one because
bid.
it's showing you its
It's
propensity
declining
to
as
hold
well.
above 10. So I'm going to throw another
Too
order
bad.
there
Bitcoin
for around the
pumping
$0.25.
now at
I'm gonna
108.
throw around the
Like I
$0.25
said, strong
in
bid, strong bid.
just around like 29 or so.
Bitcoin
And we'll
is
see if we
just
get
intense,
in
really
around
strong.
that level.
I think it has to do
Keeping
with
my
all
eye
this
on
volatility that's been
UNCY
happening.
as it holds
all
below
this,
that
all these,
$1 area, but again, it's still above the 10
civil
exponential
unrest.
and VWAP. It's UMAP that I want to figure my way into, and I
Generally
just
here.
don't know how.
Yeah, but it's quite strong.
Want to make
Pretty
sure
strong.
that the trend
GE, the
is
power, that's
still
this
being
thing's
respected here, and the
intense
current trend
mover.
is showing me
This thing
supported
was
around
along
915.
at
Let's give that one a
200
try.
break
We'll go 915 on
back in
UMAT.
like
We can
April
pick up something
29th,
there,
so
possibly at a
around
money fill. We'll see
a
if
month
we
and a
get
half
there.
ago.
NA is moving
Pretty
back up
strong
to the
name
high
now.
side.
Hasn't even pulled
That,
back
so
to the
let's see if we
50,
can
not even
extract
once.
some
Hasn't even
profits here
touched it. Just
on
shows,
NA.
how
Wow, we're
strong
not
the move
even
has
in
been,
NA,
how
man. It didn't
intense the
allow
buys
either of my
have been
entries in.
on
Yeah,
this
we're
name
just going here,
overall.
Joseph.
To keep it a buck.
Yeah, and the thing
Let's
is,
see how
it moved
CrowdStrike's
me
doing.
because
That
it was
name,
putting in
we've been
lower
looking
highs
at
and
that
lower lows
name
to go
over
level,
the
and
past
now it is
couple of
not letting me
days.
in right now.
Let's see. So it broke it all.
Despite the
It's
fact that it's doing some
broken
orders,
its all-time highs.
keep tabs on
Pulled
that,
back to
looking
this
for
area of
another entry on this
resistance.
one, but right
Here,
now,
pulled
I'm just
back.
not
So it's
gonna
finding
chase
some
it.
support
That's a
bouncing
good
off
idea.
it
Don't
now.
chase, man. Don't chase.
Above the 50.
And that's
Bullish
what
trend on the
we're
daily.
to talk to you guys about as well.
These
We're
cloud names
especially
overall
chasing this
are
market and this
looking
market
pretty
move
good,
that we've been on as of
especially for
recently.
like swing trade.
There's
So
ways that you
I'll
can
be
get around
looking
that and still make
closely
money without having to
on
actually trade
CrowdStrike over the
the
next
money.
couple
So
of
yeah,
days.
there we go. I'm looking for Bitcoin to put
AMD
in
is
a
looking
new
pretty
high here.
strong.
As soon as we reach it, I mean, if we
This has to break
continuously
above this
reject this,
123
then
dollar
maybe we
level.
won't get it. We were knocking on
It's
that
pure
door,
upside
but we
from
have a
there.
massive defender.
It's kind of breaking now the
61.45, and you can see it displayed there
downtrend
on
that
the
it
tape. So
had.
they're just
These
continuously
lower
rejecting it. We
highs,
run into those
these lower
levels,
lows,
try
kind
to
of
construct a
breaking
new
it.
high of the day,
As long as it
and we're
remains
like,
above
nah, no,
115,
see you later, not today.
it's kind of
Defense,
showing
and then that's what you
intermediate
can see we're
strength here.
starting to slowly pull back here, there, guys. If there's any specific that you want me to go
Although
over,
not too
I'll
much.
go over a couple of names here in the chat. I'm just letting this cook. JD is telling me to short the cues, so I'm keeping my eye on that just in case I do see any form of indecision.
Let's go back at Meta, see what it's been up to. Alright, not bad. It's found some support. So we got the alert Meta crossing 700. Yeah, market hasn't really been seeing explosive moves. Like the price action is really slow, really choppy. Hasn't been too strong at all. It's kind of like a shame, right? Just in a way, kind of boring us to death. But yeah, that day on Tesla where it declined like 14%. That was really action packed, and we took advantage of that move. So, but we kind of wish we had more days. Not just of declines, but more of a trend established day here on the overall markets. Either upside or downside. And I believe that the factor that has to do with that is that overall, if you look at the SPY, we've been bullish, right? We're above its swing high, anchored VWAP above the 50, but we're so close to the all-time highs. We're around, I think, 2%, a little bit more than that. And as every day that we go up, right? We're going up every day, but like, see how the candles are declining. Like, we're going up, but like each time with less strength, right? So, I think that's kind of what's we're seeing in the markets. We're going up, but with not too much of an intense strength. I think we're prone here on the SPY for a pullback, possibly towards this level, 585. I think we've been getting a little bit overextended. We need some type of pullback, and the price action is kind of warning us now that we're seeing the moves, right, but we're not seeing like these wicks, right, like the body of the wicks of the candles. I mean, they're slowly starting to shrink, showing contraction. We may, like I said, pull back towards this 585 and now have that strength to go higher and hopefully break above the all-time highs that we had here around 613 on the SPY, and same thing for the Nasdaq. Like exactly the same as the overall SPY. Let's see. Tesla, it's just not doing a whole lot. Still above its VWAP on these important indicators. So we're having some type of consolidating, kind of digesting the move. Are we going to move higher or lower? That's kind of what's happening here on Tesla. See the multi time frames. Yeah, I think found support at that pivot point exactly. At the beginning of the day, found support exactly at that pivot point. Exactly when we opened around 283. Not bad. And the VWAP has been nothing but increasing. So place a swing high and VWAP here because this is an important high and a rejection. So we're see if we get above that there. Alrighty, so it looks like we are finding some resistance there at the swing high anchored VWAP here on TSLA. So we're having some trouble getting above it right now. The overall market now declining as well, down 0.17% here. It's not looking too good for the general market. See, yeah, so we recuperated above VWAP a little bit, but now we're again prone. So, when key area of support is tested, and each time there's less of a move away from it, and the more level is tested, it generally tends to fail, right? So, KMK earlier in the day around the open, we had a strong bid, came back, pulled back, strong bid upwise, and same thing, pulled back, strong bid towards upside, right? But you see, each time that we pulled back, we had explosive moves, right? Pulled back, a nice move, pulled back, an explosive move. Same thing we're seeing now, but we're bouncing, but less of an explosive move, signifying that there's a little bit of weakness, right? So things to take into effect to factor it in, right? Doesn't mean that we're reversing the overall kind of bullish trend that we've been having here on the triple Qs, but it just shows that there's a kind of a slowdown, some weakness kind of entering the overall triple Qs here, the Nasdaq. But yeah, still strong on the day. Here on Tesla, volume is not too strong. Average volume has been around, over the past 30 days, around 112, around there, million shares. And the volume today is around 60 million. So it's not too much. Generally, I do notice that Tesla does have, pretty nice moves at the beginning of the day. And between, let's say, between 10:30 a.m. and around 1:30, around there, we tend to see the price action kind of slow down, the volume slow down, and then towards the end of the day close, we see a strong downward or upside move, right? Like the volume slowly starts to pick back up. And I think it's not just Tesla, but most of these equities kind of tend to follow that pattern throughout the day in general. So just have to see how the price action performs, but yeah, it's been pretty slow today. It's been pretty slow. Yeah, here's the weakness coming in. See that wick, it's like we're starting to see a little bit of, trouble going above it, right? So upper wicks showing, sellers coming in, rejecting that price, and bringing the price down a little bit lower here. Looks like we are coming down a little bit. Possibly would like to see towards VWAP here. Now we don't want to go fully short because we're still above VWAP. Intraday, this blue line shows buyer control, buyer dominance. Although there's weakness, like I said. Kind of declining here. See the price action. Yeah, just rejecting above that pivot point where we encountered some resistance. So seeing a decline. Market down 0.15. Like I said, pretty rangy. Bitcoin pumping. I think the only strong right now, more ideal would be the Bitcoin trade, showing that resilience. Like I said, yeah, there it is, finding some support. Now went towards VWAP, right there. But yeah, Meta tends to trade a little bit slower. Right, it's a pretty expensive name to trade. It's pretty high, $700 per share. Yeah, it tells us just having this trouble to, get above decisively, above the 50 MA, right? On the day, been pretty strong, up around 0.23%. Not too major, but yeah, it's having, some difficulty over the past, let's say almost an hour, getting above the 50 MA, and each time, we dip down lower, but, we're finding some, some buyers here at least. But yeah, we're having trouble getting above the 50 generally here. Yeah, like I said, it's been pretty intense here on the overall day. But other than that, we will leave it at that for today. Initial position on Tesla, we did get stopped out here. Like I said, for a small position, we did enter at around 7:30, expecting to see downward move based on this candle. But we got stopped at this high, and that's where actually we got stop hunted pretty much. You know, it's funny to see that we got stopped out, and just for the price to go back towards our kind of average price of entry. But that's how it is. Good thing it was a small position because we were still above VWAP. We didn't fully want to go full shares, but we did go small entry price, and you know, but we'll have to see what Tesla stock does overall. Rejecting the 50 is kind of strong on the day, but like I said, it's having just some trouble getting above the 50 EMA, and we'll just have to look at it closely from there. Other than that, that was pretty an intense trade, and as always, stay tuned for today's video going live at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We will talk about a setup that AI just scanned and is looking absolutely bullish for a swing trade. So if you guys don't want to miss that out, feel free to subscribe to the channel and also to the Uplift Markets newsletter, where we will give you guys personal AI insights and stocks that are setting up for perfect trades. So without